Hi, everyone. This is your sister Desiree Monique, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, as promised, I will be interviewing Ty the Flipman Taylor. How are you doing, Flipman?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Glad to be here. Took a arm and a leg to get me here, but I got some other. I think I told you what stuff going on or whatever.
Yes. You're breaking up.
Oh, you couldn't hear me? Okay. Yeah, it looks like your internet is going. I can hear you fine.
It's my internet. Okay.
I think.
Don't worry. So, I'm so glad I get to interview Ty the Flipman Taylor. So I'm going to start with a couple of questions, and if you don't want to answer, it's fine. I can, like I said,
Oh
I'm
no,
going
no,
to
no.
later anyway.
No questions off limits.
Okay, first question: when and where were you born?
I was born in a town in Alabama. It's called Milry, Millry. Just to give you some context, it borders Mississippi. The county is Washington County, and it borders. As a matter of fact, I was born in Mississippi because that's the closest hospital, and it still does that delivers babies. So the town that I grew up in is less than 600 people now. I think back when I was growing up, it was maybe approaching 1,000 or so.
Wow.
So it's going down. But anyway, so that's where all of my people are now. Because we're so close to Mississippi, all of my mom's side of the family are from Mississippi. That's where she's from, right? My mom just passed back in August, so but that's where she was buried. And in Mississippi, yeah, that's what's been. I thought I told you, but that's what's been going on, whatever. Anyway, but on my father's side of the family is in Alabama, which is the Murray area, and so I live in Birmingham, which is the largest city in the state of Alabama. So it's like 3 hours, right at 3 hours southwest of Birmingham. So, but I don't have any relatives up here. I came to Birmingham in 1990 to go to college at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, also known as UAB. And that's where I've been all of my adult years have been spent here in Birmingham. So I've been up here, I guess it was 35 years in September. So there you go.
Wow, 35 years.
I'm 55.
I'm sorry?
I'm 55, so
You're 55? Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
So I came here when I was 20 years old. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I didn't know how I can't, but as you can.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
They say black don't crack. I guess that might apply.
Okay. What are your earliest memories?
As far as related to what? Like what particularly?
Like your childhood, because my son is always like, oh, I can remember when I was 7 or something like that.
Okay, my earliest memory, I guess, if you just want to say, like, I think she died in 1974. So I was 4 years old, and going back to my mom again. Her mother died when I was very young. I barely remember her. So that would be my grandmother. And at the time, that's when my mom and dad were still together. And I was next door at my cousin's house, who was one of my best friends or whatever. And my father came to pick me up. We were down there just playing. He said, you got to come go with me because your grandmama just died. Like that. We need to go be with your mama. So anyway, I know it's been a little morbid, but you asked the question, so I'm answering it. So, that's my earliest memory that I have. You know what? And after that, I remember I remember I didn't go to kindergarten. I remember like I don't know if it was the first day of school, but I remember first grade, right? I
Mhm.
vaguely I remember first grade or whatever. So
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Who were the most influential people in your life as a child?
Wow. Okay, that's an interesting question. Um, so I come from, I guess you would call a broken home, broken home, in the sense that my mom and dad were married, and there's four of us, that immediate group. Because my dad has other kids, but so um, so he basically just not to get into too much detail. They were no longer together by the time I was 7 or 8 years old, and leading
Mhm.
up to there was a lot of chaos even with that. So speaking to my cousin, I was talking about a moment ago. He that was my dad's aunt and uncle. Uh, it was my dad's mother, which was my grandmother's brother and his wife, right? So they were my great aunt and uncle. So both of my grandmothers had passed by the time I was 4. So I never had a grandmother that I can refer back to. So she was like my grandmother, my great aunt. And so my cousin and his mom lived there with them, so those were his grandparents, and so they were very, very had a huge influence on me. All right, and so like I said, I grew up in a small town, so when people talk about rural, I know rural, like dirt roads. We didn't. I guess I'm old, but I don't know if I'm that old because I knew people that had it. We didn't even, but we were very, very poor, like very poor. But because we didn't even have indoor plumbing until I was 13 years old,
Okay.
right? And so to go back to who was influenced, so they were a huge influence on me because they did a lot of babysitting because my mom had to work and she was involved in the church a lot, and we didn't always go with a lot we did, but and then the guys that were older than me, the little old, maybe a couple of years older than me, they were probably even a bigger influence. A lot of times, I don't have any kids, but I can observe, and I've been a child or whatever. A lot of times, you can do your best to quote unquote raise a child and have them involved, all positive stuff, and those friends will have bigger influence than you have after all
True.
your hard, right? And so the guys in my neighborhood, they didn't drink, they didn't do any drugs or anything like that. So we
That's
did what
good.
they did. You know what I'm saying? The only thing they cared about was sports and girls. That's the way we were, right? And so to this day, I don't drink. I've never done weed or any type of drug. Not saying people that's done it or what. I'm just telling about me. So I've never done anything like that, right? I drink some alcohol, but you could put in maybe, like I said, I'm 55. You maybe could put into a gallon milk jug of what I've drank as far as alcohol in my lifetime. That's been more recent, just with someone I've dated or whatever over the last few years or whatever. But anyway, so those guys were a huge influence on me. My older brothers, they were also, because I'm the youngest out of four, let's say with my mom and dad. And then we were heavy into the church also,
Okay.
even though I used to hate it because you like literally go all the time or whatever and stuff, but it was still a positive influence because it's a positive
Yes.
setting, like even though like a lot
Of
of church
course.
they have their level of foolishness in it, but it was positive. So all of that to just encompass, whatever human being I am right now, that's where it comes from that foundation or whatever. Even though you can come from a poverty um, situation, but I think morally, we were rich. You know what I'm saying? As for in my opinion, anyway. So
Mhm. Yes. That sounds awesome. I am very impressed by that. But I can tell by your personality. I can tell that the way that you were raised by your personality because you're really laid back. A lot of people aren't really laid back.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see the next question. I don't need to ask that question. It's silly. Um, this is a silly question too. So, do
No,
you
go ahead.
have any nickname,
Go ahead.
memorable nicknames?
Oh wow. Well, one of them I can't really go into detail on, but I'll tell you what they used to call me. I can't tell you how it came about, right? But my guy, like them same guys I was talking about, a little older than me, they called me
Mm-hmm.
ham and eggs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you know how us as black people do. You'll have a nickname, and then the nickname will have a nickname. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes,
so right now I'm 55. They don't say Tyrone. They don't say Ty. They say Ham. Hey, they'll just say Ham. You know what I'm saying? They'll just use that term to acknowledge me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I understand it. I'm glad nobody calls me by my nickname anymore. I'm not even joking. Nobody calls me by my nickname anymore, and I'm
Yeah.
glad about that because I know that lingers. That definitely lingers.
No, it's
Okay.
fine. It ain't no big deal. You know what I'm saying? Because I know it come from a good place. Because I know the backstory behind it. It's really
Mhm.
funny, but I'm not.
I
So
understand. I understand. Okay. Why do you? What do you know about your family history or the origins of your family name?
wow, I don't. I've never. My sister gets into that. One of my older brothers they get into that a little bit. It's just one of those things that I'm a weirdo in some stuff. Now, a lot of stuff I'm very calm like anybody else. But I'm a weird. That's just something I'm just like it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like
I understand
it
that.
matters, but it doesn't matter to me. So
I
I'm subject to change my mind on that. As you get older, you get old, different interests. But at this point, once it's brought up, I'll sit there and listen. I'm not going to go into too much. I guess. Uh, Questions to open up more dialogue. But when they talk about it, I just sit there and listen. So I have no idea. I know a little. Don't go back too far. You know what I'm saying? Like most of us, or whatever. If you don't really dig into it, you'll just know what older people have said in the family. What when we got at a certain place. How we got from one place to another, or whatever. But I don't know much.
understand that. Same here with me. I didn't know it much until I came down here and my mom gave me something from a family reunion. I'm like, oh, I didn't know anything about
Yeah, I
either.
got you.
So I wasn't really into that either. But it was a question, so I decided to answer it. What was your relationship? Oh, I think you already answered that. I was going to
Go
ask
ahead.
you
Go
what
ahead.
your
Go ahead.
relationship was like with your parents, but I think you already answered that
Yeah,
question.
just to go into a little bit more detail on that, because I sort of went over, but since you're asking the question, yeah. So again, I'm the youngest, right? And so, um, um, my mom and dad, I say obviously, but they were married. She was from Mississippi. He was in Alabama. Again, they only 30 minutes apart, so it's not like you're going hours apart from each other. And so, like with a lot of, I guess, man, marriages, people just may be too young to actually get married, right? And just really just you know, I'm glad I'm here, but I'm not one of those. And people react to stuff differently, so um, it was when my dad basically left, right? So, and moved to Ohio, and my mama famous words is that, she said, she told her, hey, he was gone, do the best you can. And, he left her with four greedy, because we took out to him greedy kids, right? And my mom never made more than $125 a week, right? And so we just had to make it, with the community. And I guess things were not as expensive then. The house we lived in was the house um that his my dad's, I don't know, my dad's mother, which my uncle that lived next door built for his sister or whatever. So, you know, I just joke with my mom. I said, well, you should have knew that was a red flag right there when you move from when you marry a man, you have to move in with his mama. You know what I'm saying? That should have been your red flag right there, because she used to always talk about how smart she was in school, and she should have went out to college or whatever, but she let our dad, my father, convince, how it go. So anyway, but it was so much chaos in the household that when he left, at you know, well, let me say this. So I'm the youngest. So my older brothers and sisters, their experience a little different because at one point he was a good father, husband, quote unquote. I never experienced that, right? So when he was there, he really wasn't there because he would stay gone 2 weeks at a time sometimes, just out, just doing stuff. And so obviously when he come home, that's gonna be some chaos. Just imagine, you had a husband and he gone for 2 weeks and he come home and think, everything's supposed to be la la land. Nah, my mama wasn't built like that. So anyway, so when he left, it really was the best thing ever happened to us because of all the chaos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but as a child and growing up, you got some of your other cousins and friends, they father in their life. And so, you don't know any better because you understand how relationships go and the grind that my mama had to do just to try to take care of us with no assistance from him or whatever. And so, but long story short, once I became a teenager and sort of a young adult, I really understood like, wow, like my mama was amazing. But now some people on the flip side of that, some people, they would still long for that relationship with their father. That wasn't me. I'm not built like that. If I don't know you, it's hard for me to miss something that I didn't really have. You know what I'm saying? Because I got other people in my family where their fathers were not in their lives, but they still, the grown people now, they still long for that, right? And feel like failures in their life is because of not having that relationship. Okay, the way I like to do things is that somebody tell me, say, well, they doing this and then okay, I say, let's just say all that's true. Now what we gonna do about it? We gonna say
Right.
we don't
You
need to
want
talk
the
about
solution.
yeah, we don't need to talk about that anymore, right? What we gonna do about it?
The solution. That's right.
You
That's
know what I'm
right.
saying? Like, okay, all of that's true. You know what I'm saying? But what we gonna do about it?
um, Speaking of, so you said you didn't have any children. Are you married?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not married. To answer your question, no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not.
Okay, so I can forget that question. Up next, and you already told me where you went to school. Also, I have to skip that question. How did you decide on your career path?
Wow, man, that's crazy. Like, I wasn't. A lot of entrepreneurs, they were entrepreneurs as kids. In reality, they would be the ones bringing the potato chips and selling them to kids, and lemonade stands, and going to people knocking the door, see if they'll let them take their trash out. Nah, that wasn't me. Like I said, we didn't care about anything but sports and girls. Right now, we did jobs because that was the only way we really were going to have extra money, especially for me. But those jobs were done grudgingly. Like hauling hay. Anybody knows what that means is like you have. Okay, so before, well, I guess you still had them. So they used to. So man, wow, I ain't thought about this in a minute. But so just think about, so anyone that either lives in the South or ever been to the South, just imagine 95, 96, 97-degree heat. And even if you don't know what it looks, you can go to Google and look it up or whatever. Look at a hay bundle, right? A lot of them will be round. The ones that they were doing were square, though. They had a tractor type machine that it would cut the field to turn it into hay. It's for their cows or whatever, and then it would bundle it. It would bundle it into a square bundle of hay, but that it may weigh, even though it's just grass, it may weigh 50 pounds, right?
Really?
And so me and my cousin, I probably keep referencing him a lot. His name is Gifford. We call him Gip, G-I-P, but his name is Gifford. And so he and I were so young that we couldn't pick up one by ourselves.
Okay.
We had to pick them up together, but we'll work all day, right? Like literally all day. Summer days are long for $20 in that heat, and was glad to get it. You know what I'm saying? So we would do stuff like that. We would haul watermelons. And that means like, you go out into a field and you literally pick watermelons and put them on an 18-wheeler or whatever. So we would what they call it? We would have to okay, so you also would have to hoe watermelons. And what that means is instead of them having a tractor to do whatever, I don't even know what you call it, to try to remove weeds and stuff, we literally have to just go out there and do it, with hoes, right? And so we would do that all day. My mom used to make me rake the yard in the fall time. That wasn't for no pay though. That was just chores. We would do cut grass sometimes, but I didn't really have a lawnmower, so I couldn't really do that. And then in the summers, they would have city programs or county programs where you could work, and normally it was going to be some laborers work. We would work just to keep the city clean or the town clean or whatever, or a certain area within the county clean by just walking and picking up trash. Then one summer, this was the first summer after college, my first year of college, I came home for the summer. That's the last time I had been home for a summer. And we used to, so you have a lot of dirt roads in the county areas. So if you don't maintain the roads, trees will grow over the roads, right? Like literally. And so they would have these machines that it's like a tractor. I can't think of what the name of it's called, but it has like an arm on it, and it would just cut. So, but when it cuts, the debris that falls, it would just go into the ditch. So that had to be removed so you wouldn't clog up the drainage in the ditch. So I did that one summer or whatever. But that's the type of stuff we would do or whatever. So so none of that is entrepreneur though, right? So that light bulb didn't go off for me until one of my older brothers. He went to college at the University of South Alabama in Mobile. And so one day he came home through the summer. This is probably when I was 20. I don't know if it was the summer before I came up here. Yeah, it had to be the summer before I came to Birmingham, which was 1990. And he had a recording of a speech from one of the ministers from the Nation of Islam. All right. And so obviously you know what they talk about, but also in that speech, he talked about, owning your own business, and that clicked for me. So I didn't react on it at the time, but it made me just like, do for yourself. Yeah, like I was just saying, all this stuff may exist, all these hurdles may exist, or are you gonna let that stop you? Is what I took from it, right? Yeah, the road may be harder, but are you gonna sit there and complain about it, or are you gonna do something about it, right? So, because if somebody else that looks like me can do it, I think I might can do some semblance of that, right? So anyway, so that's where the entrepreneur fire started from.
So, can you describe your career and any significant achievements within it?
Well, that's wow, that's interesting.
Could you wait? I'm sorry. Could you go back to what? Oh, because I love this story.
Mm-hmm.
When you first decided you wanted to become, wanted to do, I guess, wholesaling.
Okay, so all right, so just to go back to when I was talking about the entrepreneur thing, so one of the guys that I was talking about that I looked up to, he was going to school at the Livingston University. It's called the University of West Alabama now. And he hit me up. I was in college here in Birmingham, but he was down there. He asked me would I meet him in Tuscaloosa, which it was only 45 minutes from me. At this man's house. And so basically the meeting was a Amway meeting. That was my first introduction to any form of starting your own business. Of course, that's network marketing, MLM or whatever. And so, so the guy was, so if you don't know how network marketing means, works, is that you have to have a product or a service first, right? Then that product or service is consumed by the people that get into the group. The way you really make the money is not the sale of the product or service, but it's getting other people into the group. And it starts to create a downline where they pay money for bringing those other individuals in and just continue. Some people call it a pyramid scheme, but a pyramid scheme is illegal. Network marketing isn't. They figured out how to do it, legitimately. So anyway, but my friend wasn't getting that part of it. He was thinking he can get cleaning products, and he would sell them to schools, right? And the dude that was hosting the event, he trying to reel him back in without saying it. No, man, that ain't how you really make the money. He wasn't saying you make money by getting other people in. Damn the products. You know what I'm saying? We got to have something to sell. But but I got it. You know what I'm saying? I understood it. So I tried to do it. That doesn't work for me because, believe it or not, I'm not that, I'm an introvert, right? So normally to exceed in something like that, you have to be extrovert, right? So you have to be able to sell stuff, basically, so anyway, so I tried that. Then I tried LCI, which was a telecommunications form of network marketing. Then I went to, it was another one. Then I did prepaid legal. And then 1995, the older brother that went to the University of South Alabama, my cousin I talked about, Gip. Well, my other cousin, Ron, which he and I are a day apart. I was born July 31st. He was born July 30th, same year. And then one of my brother's friends, his name is Bush, who lives in Memphis. We all drove to Daytona Beach to Black Beach Weekend, 1995, in a rented Toyota Camry, all five of us, right? And one of my brother's friends drove up from Orlando, and he had started a mobile car wash business. I had never heard of anything like that, right? And so he had made six figures doing it, the prior year. And so, that ain't bad money now, but back in 1995, that was a lot of money, So I couldn't wait till we got back to Birmingham to go, because he told me what you needed to do. You needed a vehicle, you needed a water tank, you needed a pressure washer, and obviously your car wash supply to clean the vehicles. And a vacuum cleaner, and you're in business, right? And so that was right around the time. This is my last quarter. We weren't on semesters, we were on quarters. My last quarter in college, right? And I was getting my student loan money, right? And so I went and bought a old passenger van where the seats had been removed, and a baby blue. I went and bought a water tank, 100-gallon water tank. It may have been 50. No, I think it was 100-gallon water tank, a pressure washer, and a vacuum cleaner, and found a wholesale distributor. I think he sold all the stuff, actually, for the car wash supplies. And that was the spring of 1995. My cousin Gip and one of the other guys we went to high school with that was up here in Birmingham at the time, hey, we were in business. And so we would just go to, we started out probably, going to hair salons, especially the ones that were in like retail strip centers, and then offered the hairdresser free to wash their car, and people would just start asking, you know what I'm saying? And so we would go on people's jobs. So it was working, right? Problem is, I'm born in the South, right? But it does get cold here, right? And so, well, our definition of cold, let me just say that. So it's October now. So it's probably about to happen now. So that first morning when I woke up and it was 40 degrees.
Yeah, that sounds like Jersey.
I was out of business. Just like
Wow.
that. No way I'm gonna be splashing this water out here in this type of temperature. That was the end of that, right? Because I see people doing it now, I'm like, man, I was doing that literally 30 years ago. But anyway, so that was really like my first business that I had any real success at, right? Really, that's it. So, but I always had jobs. So, my job career was basically, I worked all through college. I had a minimum of 2 jobs in college, most time 3, going to school full time, had a full time girlfriend that was crazy and demanding, so you just barely slept, gambled all the time. You know what I'm saying? Just, I don't even know, I don't even know how I was making it or whatever. So when I got out of college though, as far as what's the first? Oh, I was working. What was I working? I was working. I was working part time for AAA. I was doing overnight dispatch, so that
Mhm.
I was still doing that in college. But I got a job at a bank in the customer service area, and I learned how to. I took a typing class in high school. Outside of math, just to go back a little bit. Outside of math, reading, that typing class has made me more money than anything, right?
Wow.
Just because just being. Let me just say this: being able to just get jobs where I didn't have to work outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Gip, he said one of them years that we were working in the summer when we were working for the city, like I said, they were real laborious jobs. He said, I told him, I don't remember telling, but I'm pretty sure, I know he's not lying. He said, I told him and said, when I grow up, I ain't gonna be doing this. Nothing like this. So subconsciously, I've made that happen to this point, right? And so, but that typing skill allowed me to get those type of customer service jobs. Okay, so I did the bank thing, then I started working at the postal service what they call remote. It was called the remote encoding center, the rec. And the mail has to. I don't know if they still do it though. The mail had to be keyed. We would see visuals of the mail, and we would just type in certain digits to send it in the right direction, right? So I had that. Oh, I was so happy when I got that job. Oh my God. Because you thought you got it at the postal service, you done made it. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yes.
but it was very intense. They were very strict. It wasn't the best environment to work in, right? But on that job, I met a young lady that I ended up dating for like 7 years or
Mhm.
whatever. And but she had got it. I do not have to bring up. She got a job at Bell South, which AT&T purchased them a few years back, acquired them a few years back. But that was like even a better job than the postal service. So I started trying to get a job, and also she was the first one that we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now if it wasn't for her in this way. Is she was the first one to introduce me to the internet, right?
Oh.
This was in I want to say 98 or 99. So because I had took was wow. I took a couple of, I think we had to in college, a couple of computer classes, right? That's probably funny to you youngsters. Like, you had to take a couple, like, you didn't already know it. No, we didn't. Um, and I was just sitting in that class. The screens were green. That was back just how old I am. Just green screens, sitting there at the table of class. I guess I got a C. I was terrible. I graduated college with a 2.2. I'm sitting in that class. Why in the hell am I taking this class? This ain't gonna help me make no money. You know what I'm saying? Just, hey, that's why I just sitting there just thinking, I was like, why am I taking this class? It ain't gonna help me make no money. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just thinking about what I'm saying. And the internet, and the reason you and I are having this conversation right now, on the computer, then the internet, not the internet, then the computer. The computer came first. That's the only reason we're talking right now. Not because of the technology. I'm just saying that's why you know I existed. Is that, and I'm sitting in that class, and I'll say 93, 94. I'm like, why in the hell am I? This will never make me. Oh my God, I can't tell you how much money it's made me. Like just way beyond anything I ever learned in college. But I didn't get anything from that class. And I'm just saying, I just think, wow. But you never know just because you say, man, I wish I would have did this. But you don't know what path that would have took you down there.
That's true.
I may not even be here right now. So, but assuming that it was all positive, I'm like, man, so I would have probably, if I would have just really like, man, I like this computer stuff, I would have probably been introduced to the internet in 93, 94. That 3-year difference, similar to AI, a lot of people know it exists, and they don't really know what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Really?
bigger than the internet, right? And so, but anyway, I bring that back. Oh, so okay, so she came home, so she had started working at the post office and started working there, and she had came home and one day so excited, she said, man, she said they got this thing at work, it's called the internet, and it's like just amazing. You like can just whatever you think about, you can probably find it on there or whatever. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, so we went to the library because we didn't neither one of us had a desktop or a laptop. And so she showed it to me, and I'm like, I was just like blown away, like you can buy stuff, you can sell stuff, because that was I'm like, wow. And so just how gullible I was, just, oh my God, if it weren't for women, I might have some money. I bought her a computer before I bought myself one. Just think about that now. I bought her one, and they were not cheap back then. And I was working a job. I ain't have it like that or whatever. And so I bought her one before I bought myself one. Right? Anyway, so when I bought mine, I lived alone, I guess like now, and I just got engulfed in it, right? And I probably know more than most when it comes to that stuff like that, but I still don't think I've ever really maxed it out. I've done well with, don't get me wrong, just when I get to the other stuff, but I don't think I've ever maxed it out. So, but anyway, I just got engulfed in it, man. And so, okay, so now let's get to the real estate. So I got back into prepaid legal, right? And I'm missing some stuff on jobs and all that stuff, but we're more here to talk about the real estate. So, so I got back into prepaid legal. So what happened was, all right, so one of my friends and his now wife were going to school to become real estate agents. And the guy that normally taught the class was absent. He wasn't there. The guy that substituted for him, Don Williams, which he's passed on now, he substituted for him. He didn't talk about being a real estate agent. He talked about real estate investing and creative ways of real estate investing, right? With no money. See, what a lot of people get confused about, they think they want to become a real estate investor, they have to become a realtor first. No, you're not going to learn anything about real estate investing. Nothing, right? You ain't even going to learn nothing being about a realtor as far as making money. When you're going through the class, they just trying to make sure you're legal, right? You understand the laws or what. That's really what you're testing on. But anyway, so my friend, knowing how I was in college, I forgot a couple of things. I forgot that in college, this is sort of relevant to what I'm about to say, is that I had started, I had this brilliant idea that because I had the entrepreneur bug at that point. Ain't nothing you can do about it. You just, ain't nothing I can do about it at this point. It's a gift and a curse. The way my brain works. I had this brilliant idea that I was going to become a millionaire in college by selling used cars. I was going to take my student loan money and buy used cars. So I don't even know how I figured out. I guess I went to the library and figured out. I got a dealership's license, right? It wasn't that difficult. And I found out there's auctions you can go to buy the cars, right? I started going to auctions. One of them was less than 30 minutes from the school. A major one, Odessa. That's one of the still big brands right now. And so The problem with that is, so when you go out there to the auction, it's huge, just hundreds of cars. They got like a runway where you can test drive them, and everything. You go inspect them, and before the auction start, and wow, that was exciting. And so I bought some cars. Long story short, the problem with that is they will make say it's 2025, and you were going out there, you were going to buy a 2010 or something. They'll make that car look just when I say they, the dealers that are going to run them through the auction, or dealers buy from dealers, um, they'll make that car look brand new, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it may be a total piece of junk,
Yeah.
right? So if you're not mechanically inclined or have someone with you that is,
Mm-hmm.
you about to get your hat handed to you, and that's what happened to me. Like my cousin, the one that's a day apart from Iran, he had went out there with me one time. I had bought this Toyota Chrysler, and so he drove me out there, so I wouldn't have to try to figure out how to go back and get the car. So I just drove the car I bought, right? And so we headed up I-20 back toward the campus, I was still in college, back toward the campus, and I look out the rearview window mirror, like, and it just the black smoke just everywhere. And all I can do is see that fool behind me just dying laughing. You know what I'm saying? And so, oh my gosh, I got out of that business. The long story short, I got out of that. Oh, whatever. So my $1 million idea didn't work. So
Or you could have done the parts thing. You could have just done parts instead of the.
I didn't even know how that worked until more recently. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely didn't know at 20 something, right? So anyway, so my cousin, so my friend and his wife that were going to real estate school. So I was known for the guy that was trying to start businesses in school. But see, back then, and I don't know if any people that are watching this are my age. So when you said you wanted to be an entrepreneur, you wanted to start your own business back when I was growing up in my age group, that meant you were lazy and you didn't want to work.
Right.
It didn't mean you were going to, go
Is
beyond worker bees or whatever.
let me just say this. Let me just say this. Today, it's a little bit in parents like that. Parents are like,
oh yeah. If it's a such, some people are still like that. I deal with a few people that are still like that. They can't wrap which is fine. It's fine. The first goal in all of this, Desiree, is that being happy. So, but they can't wrap their mind around a quote unquote a steady paycheck, right? Yeah. That's fine. Everybody ain't built for this, because when you start talking about entrepreneurship, and especially in this real estate world, you're really saying, I don't know when I'm gonna get paid again.
Right.
Can you mentally handle that?
Mm-hmm.
Now you may get paid in chunks that should last you or whatever to the next one, and you have to manage that, but you literally have to wrap your mind around, I don't know when I'm gonna get paid again. So, but let me go back to that. So anyway, so knowing how I was in college, so he told me, he said, man, you ever heard about this being able to buy real estate with no money? I said, man, I don't know what you're talking about, man. That was in October. I guess it's October now. So that was in October of 2002. And so I didn't act on it at that time. So I was at my mom's house back home. Fast forward to Christmas. So December 27th, couple of days after Christmas. And I was up just watching TV, waiting on her to prepare breakfast, biscuits, serving biscuits. That was my thing. I'm going to miss that. And so, well, she ain't been able to do that in years. But anyway, so, and so I was watching TV while she was, preparing breakfast. And this infomercial came on, Carlton Sheets, which I had seen it over the years. You all can Google Carlton Sheets. He's passed away, I think around 2021, something like that. And so it'll be like, no money down. Hey, you make money in real estate. And so you have all these testimonials. Of course, with the infomercial, they're not telling you anything but how much money they make, right? Yes. And that's one of the reasons why I don't really do it that way or whatever. I'll have people I interview, but if you go on my channel that I interview and they tell the story, but they're really telling you something of value versus that. And I don't really talk about how much money I made and all that stuff. Because that don't do no good. Like, how did you make the money? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
That
how
part right there. That part right there.
if you want somebody to show you, hey, I just bought this car, or this, okay, that's out there, it exists, but how did you get it? That's what
Right.
impressed me. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so so he told me about it. So I was watching the interview. I mean, watching the infomercial. I caught it halfway through, and I said, "Let me watch one of these from beginning to end." Again, I hadn't seen them over the years, but you're like, man, yeah, right. And so, so I watched from beginning to end. And at the end of it, I thought to myself, Desiree, I said, he can't be lying about all of this.
Right.
And so back then, my mom didn't have internet. So when I got back to Birmingham, I went online and did a search. I went to this entrepreneur message board I used to frequent and asked a question. And I know you all don't know what. I guess it would be similar to Discord, right? Something like that, or just social media. But it was a message board, but it was dedicated to online entrepreneurship. And so I asked the question was, does Carlton Sheets program really work? Only one person replied, and I wish I could. I wish I could find that individual. And he was like, "Yes, it does, but Ron LeGrand's course is better." Right. So I did a search for Ron. Right. I don't know if it was Google or Yahoo, and I found this found this website, and it was $1,500, but it was called a Quick Turn Real Estate. Right. Its program. It had wholesaling, lease options, subject to, fix and flip, rentals, and maybe a couple other things in it. So I went. So I was like, wow, I didn't know all this stuff was. And so, but it's $1,500 back then. I was working at Bell South, and that was more than definitely more than first. I got paid twice a month. That was more than one payment. You know what I'm saying? And so I say, man, just looking through the rest of the page, it had a condensed version of it. And for $69.99 with shipping, it was around $80. It came in cassette tape. I ordered that. It came in cassette tape form. And I received it. And Ron, if you ever watched any of this stuff, boy, he's good. So he still wasn't telling you anything, but he was telling you just enough to get you fired up. Ron could make you feel like you run through a wall, right? Or make you feel stupid if you ain't doing it, right? And so anyway, so I said, man, I got to come up with that $1,500. If I had to get me a second job, I'm gonna get that course, right? And so a couple of days later, I thought about eBay, and I went and did a search for his name, and that exact course was on multiple auctions. And so I bid on the auction, lost the auction, and back then sellers could email you. Dude emailed me, asked me, did I want a bootleg copy of it? Okay. Long story short, we agreed on $400, right? It still was a sacrifice. Some didn't get paid, I'm sure. And I bought that course package for $400, a bootleg copy. So he shipped me the burnt CDs, and man, I went from not knowing absolutely nothing about real estate to being bombarded with all of this knowledge. It took me 3 weeks to go through it all, right? And if I wasn't at work, whatever time I was spending with the girl I was dating at the time, I was listening to those calls. I would go to bed listening to them. Right now, like I said, it had all those different methods in it. But what stuck to me was lease options, wholesaling, but more importantly, probably bandit signs. Because remember I said I'm an introvert. So because I sort of skipped some of my job history. I had tried to do the sales thing before and was terrible at it. Right. But if someone calls me, that's a different conversation. If they call me wanting something that I'm offering, that's a different I'm in a different mindset that I can handle. And I think I can maybe accomplish some things. And so that stuck to me. So I ordered some bandit signs. I paid $250 for them and 50 signs. That was overpayment, but at the time I didn't know any better. And I picked them up on a Friday, put them out on a Sunday morning, and the very first 2 calls I received were deals. One of them was a lease option opportunity, and the other one was a actual wholesale deal. The lease option opportunity was a guy inherited a property, which is a very common thing, is how you find a lot of great deals. He already lived in his house, but his mom passed and left him a house, but it still had a mortgage in it, so he couldn't afford both mortgages. So he was behind on payments on his mom's house, and so but the price, what he owed on it versus what the numbers were, and I wasn't still sure about how to run the numbers, but I felt that he owed too much, so I explained to him how a lease option works. And so he agreed to that. Now I explained to him how I was going to make my money. I was going to get a down. He and I were going to agree on a price. I was going to sell it to someone else at a higher price, but they were going to make monthly payments based on a lease with an option to buy or rent to own. And I was going to get a down payment, which was going to go in my pocket. I explained that to him. So, okay, I advertised it in the newspaper. That's how long it's been, guys, in the newspaper. This lady was a nurse. She had 3 or 4 kids, and she had the $5,000 that I wanted down as a lease option payment. We met at Old Charlie's on Center Parkway, or Roebuck Parkway, whatever they call it over there in the Roebuck area. People at Birmingham know what I'm talking about. It's not there anymore. I think a Mexican restaurant is there or something now, and we sit down at the table. I gave her the contract. I had already showed her the house, and she gave me 50 $100 bills. I said, man, this can't be real. You know what I'm saying? Like, this just can't be real. And so the house needed, it was livable, but it needed a few repairs. So the guy, the owner, he mentioned to me that he does handiwork. He was disabled, but he did some handiwork. So I'm thinking I'm creating a win-win. I said, well, I'd let him do the work for her. You know what I'm saying? A little money, blah, he know the house or whatever. And so one of my friends that I work with, I still had a job at the time at Bell South. He did mortgages on the side. So the owner had mentioned to me in our conversation that he would like to refinance his house. So I was going to create another win-win. So I had told my boy, I said, hey, man, I found somebody to go in the house. You already gave me $5,000, blah, blah, blah. So he mentioned it to the owner, not trying to, like rat me out here, having a conversation. The owner felt that money should have been his money. So he was hot. So when he was supposed to meet the lady over there to discuss the repairs he was going to do for her, he told her to get off his property. He was going to call the police. Tyrone did not own this property. So guess what? The lady felt what? She had been scammed. Yeah. So she called me crying and wondering what was going on or whatever. And so I was like, wow. I said, where are you right now? I had spent about $700 of the money. And I said, I'll bring you your money. So I met her and took her money, settled that with her. I called him, and he and I went at it. Now, my friend, he had never told me this, but my friend, he told me that the guy was a minister, a preacher. And so he and I was going, I was cussing. And so long story short, so I told him, I said, I don't know who you pastor and who your flock is, but I feel sorry for them. And the last thing he said to me, if I ever see you again, it ain't gonna be nice or something like that. So anyway, so the other deal was a situation where it was 2 sisters, mom left them. That's another inheritance. Left them the property. How people are, we ain't gonna sell mama house, too many memories. Yes. So they were rented out to family members, non-family members. After about 5 years of going back and forth, people not paying them, tearing the house up, fixing it, getting it ready again for rental. They were what? Tired landlords. Yeah. So they called me. We agreed on $20,000. I didn't know if that was a good deal or not. It just seemed like it was. I advertised that in the newspaper at $25,000. A real estate agent called me, told me he had an investor that would be interested in buying the house. And I broke down what I had on the contract. I shouldn't have told him that. He said, well, in order for this deal to work, I'm going to have to get half of that, right? I agreed to that. So long story short, I met them. They gave me an earnest money deposit. And we closed on it maybe like 10 days later. As soon as the title was clear, and I made $2,500 on that first deal or whatever. So that was my first introduction to and that happened. So I put those first set of signs out like the first week of February, and I closed my first deal in March. Now, I'm not saying that's what everybody's stories will be, because that was total luck, because I had no idea what I was doing. What's probably more realistic, I didn't close the next deal until June, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, so that's how I got introduced to the real estate game. So you got the long version and all this stuff. No, short, you got the long. I saw the short and the wholesale deal, but you got the long version of the lease option that blew up in my face. So.
Okay. When did you decide to start doing a YouTube channel based on
Well, I think I initially did a channel in 2007. I don't know what happened to it, and I started another one in August of 2008. Right, so this year would be, what is that, 17 years, right?
Mhm.
So I was really just feeding my hobby of being amazed with the internet. And the
Mhm.
only thing I had of value was my experience and knowledge of me making money doing real estate deals with no money, no credit or whatever. And so, but I wanted to take a different approach than, like I was talking about Carlton Sheets, and I can't kick what he's doing because he made a lot of money over
Mhm.
time, but I didn't want to be the guy that, or they say, a gatekeeper. So now let me
Mhm.
back up a little bit. So initially, before I even got to that, before I even started to go online with the stuff, is I was just telling friends and family what I was doing, because I was just making great money or whatever. And so I would sit down an hour with somebody and just go through it and whatever. And guess what would happen, Desiree?
What?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing would happen. You know what I'm saying? So I said, oh, people will waste your time. My time has some value, right? And
Mhm.
so I started saying, well, I'm gonna charge $97 to sell, to sit down with somebody and coach them through it, like $97, right? And so I started doing that locally, and then, like I said, I just started. Um, I don't know how I discovered YouTube, and when I saw that, I was like, man, I could just start just sharing my information with people on how to do this. Those that want to take advantage of the free content, they can, but those that want more of a hands-on approach, then they can deal directly with me, and I'll just charge them for that. And initially, again, I even started that. I was like, well, I'll just coach people and we just partner. And again, I still would, like, that may not be someone's intent, because I still get that even to this day, not to go through and do that part. But life is, something, in the
Mhm.
sense that, yeah, your intent may be to take advantage of me working with you and you doing a deal and I get compensated out of the deal. But what happens if, I don't know, you're married and you start going through a divorce? You're not going to be mentally able to do it, or a sickness, or a family member sickness. So now life has gotten in the way. But what happens to my time?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So, not saying that's going to happen to you. I know that may not be your intent. So, and then I have to go back to when I started, I was willing to sacrifice $400. That was a lot of money for me at the time,
Mhm.
right? But
$400 is a lot right
yeah,
now.
yeah. Oh my God, that $400 though, what it has turned into, it's for someone. You heard a lot of my backstory here, and it's been amazing. It's been an amazing ride. I hadn't been the best at some of the moves I made, but that lets me know anybody can do this, because I hadn't made all the best decisions and still have done very well with this. Right, I'm not the most organized person. That's probably my biggest weakness, or whatever. So, but anyway, so but so the YouTube thing came about because of that, right? But I want to take a different approach. I literally give all the information away right now on my YouTube channel. Just in the short form videos, there's probably 1,700. I mean, I'm sorry, long form content, probably 1,700 pieces of content. Short form, another 700. It's all, there ain't much I can say much. Yeah, well, that's a whole nother ballgame. But anyway, but that's how it came about.
Oh, okay. So, how long do you think it took you to get a certain amount of subscribers? You know, the kind that you can actually monetize with.
Wow, man, that's a great question there too. So initially, again, it was just a hobby. Desiree, I may make a couple of $100 there. That might get somebody hair done or nails done or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't paying no bills for real. Then one day it just jumped up to $1,000, from some source or another. Then it just, I ain't gonna put no more numbers on it. Just started. I had to take it dead serious. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a business by itself. And people are like, well, if you make so much money in real estate, why don't you know? Have you ever heard the phrase multiple streams of income?
Yes.
It's just like me literally spelling my name and people paying me for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you something that I know just like better than my social security number, better. So if people are willing to pay me for that information, why not? You know what I'm saying? Just I get what you're saying, but why not? So anyway.
And you enjoy, and you truly enjoy it, I can see.
Well, yeah, but again, it all came about because I was feeding a hobby, right? I
Mm-hmm.
still, if, like your algorithm will show you what you're interested in, whether it's on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. People say, if you get somebody to talk about, I seen this on TikTok, and there's a lot of conspiracy stuff. That means that's what you like.
Mm-hmm.
My algorithm is going to be. Now I have my level of foolishness. Don't get me wrong, but it's normally going to be mostly business related, but mostly IA related. Right now, AI related. Right. If you look at my feed on because I spend more time on YouTube or whatever, and I don't know what was I answering. What was the question? Uh,
I was I was asking you about the monetization.
Oh yeah. So what sort of took me to the next level on some monetization was back during COVID or right after, or what started during the time was TikTok just really it just really it doubled my subscribers. I think I may have been at 50. It can obviously be done a lot better, and so I should have spent more time training someone to edit the way I want it to be edited because it's going to pay off because you really need to produce a lot of content and there's no excuse. Now, these are free platforms. Now, like right now, what we're doing, we're just reposting a lot of the stuff that I've already done
Mm-hmm.
over the years, and it still gets some traction or whatever, even though some of the call to actions may be outdated, meaning like, if you text this, you'll get this. That may be a little outdated, but 2+2 is still 4 on how you do this stuff. There's a few
Mm-hmm.
things I've changed over the years, but the main thing is as far as the monetization, it's hard not to say not to worry about it, but you have to understand if you can provide enough value for people and do a lot of it, the money gonna come because you're just gonna get visible, right? An opportunity to just present themselves. That's what I'm saying. I still don't feel like I know I don't do enough, but the bottleneck is getting stuff edited, right? To post in all the different platforms.
So you saying somebody else edits for you, or you saying you
No,
edit?
I do most stuff. That's why I don't stuff don't happen. Now recently, going through with my mom, I hadn't just done stuff, but for the most part. But then it's no excuse because I've my AI clone. I have AI clone that it can do some really enough short form stuff where I feel comfortable enough that I don't care if people don't know it's me. It just need to sound like me and talk with me, but it's good enough. And I'm still not even pushing that out the way I should. It's as simple as that is. You know what I'm saying? Because it
Mm-hmm.
can consume most of my day. And here recently, I just got such a uh, um, um, uh, so, the deal flow is so overwhelming, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's hard for me to pull away from that or whatever. So just trying to give it. Like I say, the organization is probably one of my toughest things.
So
It's held me back from making way more money than what I've made.
I heard when it comes to that, like, what was it? Somebody said that if a person's trying to do everything themselves in business, they don't achieve as much.
Oh,
That's why you can like delve out
Yeah, that's understanding. Now I can tell you this now. AI has allowed me to speed up a lot of things because now I don't have to think about if I just want to write somebody an email, if it's not like a yes or no or question or just hey, just do this, 2 or 3 words, then I can just talk to ChatGPT or Gemini and it'll just spit it out. It might need a correction a little bit, but boom, I can do. Or if I need to analyze a property, throw it in there, boom, or especially a contract or something, it'll really break that down. I'll just say I'll upload a contract and say, hey, break this down from a wholesale point of view, and it'll just, you know what I'm saying. So I just make a quick decision on it or whatever. So, but yeah.
Okay, what are you most proud of?
Oh wow, that's interesting. I don't know if nobody never asked me that. Probably. Well, if you'd asked me that 3 months ago, it'd been maybe a different answer. But being able to, well, I guess it may have been the same. Being, wait a minute, hold hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Guys cutting the grass. I was just thinking about when they coming. God, I didn't pay my money. What am I most proud of? Being able to over the last probably 3 years to be able to provide some additional care for my mom. Just being in a position, um, being able to do that. Just having the resources. I'm not making money is not for me like to do it to be able to buy stuff. I like to just to be able to have options. If I
Mm-hmm.
don't do something, I like to be put in a position financially where I don't do it because of the lack of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, I'm not a person that desires a lot of things. So it's not that, but even if I want to do it, it's not, I don't do it because of the lack of money. So so that'll be different levels for different people or whatever. But for me, more than enough to be able to sort of live in that way or whatever. So, and then just being able to help my folks when they need it within reason, they'll wear you out if you watch. That's why one of the other reasons why I don't say I just made this much on the down. You rarely hear me say that, right? Because they watch, So, but anyway, but just being able to be able to take care of her, provide additional care before she passed over the last few years or whatever, and just being able to help my folks, So
Yes, I think as a people, I think most of us feel that way once we get there, especially about our mamas,
yeah,
especially
oh
about
yeah,
our mamas. Oh
oh
my
my God,
goodness. Okay.
yeah.
Do you have any regrets?
Tons of them. I don't know what I ever answer that. Tons of them. Yeah, I've just stuff that I was aware of before. It just most of it in the sense of just moves I could have made or did make. Not really stuff that I've done, but it's moves I didn't make.
I think everybody's. So
Hmm?
this has been a great interview. I don't really have any more questions to ask, but I
Hey,
am
well,
so
you got me.
happy.
Hey, you got me. You got me. I took up a whole hour of your time. So here we go.
No, I
All right.
really appreciate it because, you know, I've been watching you for quite a while. I just didn't do anything until like I think I got to Georgia because I was in Jersey.
And just I'll send it to you. But I created. Speaking of being organized and managing, I created a CRM, but I'm rebranding that name for how I do. It's a SLM, Slim Smart Lead Management. right?
Okay.
And so it's usable right now, and we'll keep building on it. So I've been putting out to students. So I'm gonna send you a link to establish an account. It'll be free to my students or whatever. And but just trying to create something very simple. You know, obviously there's some more stuff out there with more bells and whistles, but I'm just trying to be able to take people beyond a notebook and pad and maybe a Google spreadsheet. You know what I'm saying? So I think you'll find it very useful.
I did have three more questions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. That's right. Again, I haven't, I had to think about it, and you have to, really appreciate, the wins more so than moaning and groaning what you may have didn't do. Um, um, I don't have any kids, never been married, so I didn't think that was probably going to be there. And I guess a male can still produce, but it would be y'all might not hear from me again if I ended up like I'm out of here. Hey, Birmingham got the best man. If I end up with a child here the next year or two, I mean that ain't no, that'd be terrible. But so I didn't think I would be in that position. I sort of made my mind. I said I'm probably not going to get married. I in my early 40s. At some point, I sort of just figured that probably wasn't going to be in the cards for me. I ain't saying I wouldn't change my mind, but that's one thing. I did sort of knew that I wouldn't probably work for someone, but again, I hadn't had a quote unquote job since May of 2006.
Mm.
So that's 21 years ago. So as a date of 19 years ago. And so um, what else? I don't know. Other than that, maybe just knowing where I come from and didn't have any aspirations of doing anything like this. So that's amazing in itself. I think because I wasn't a kid that grew up wanting to start businesses or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. Probably didn't even know what the word. I had never even heard the word entrepreneurship before I was
Mm-hmm.
20 or whatever. So just probably those things that you know
Okay. How would you like to be remembered?
a helper.
Yes,
A helper.
that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, you already, I'm sure you have like a whole long list of people you've helped when it comes to real estate.
Yeah, I just like to be just known as someone that help people feed their families, giving them opportunity, so to feed their families.
Yes, yes, you have blessed so many people in that area, I'm sure. Okay, last question. What is the most important wisdom you want to pass on to future generations?
Ooh, that's a question I know. Wow. Well, if I base it on what we were just talking about helping or just providing opportunities, um, is that just don't all I hate when people I say hate, that's a strong word. I dislike when people um dwell on stuff. I'm not a complainer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I know in most cases, if something goes bad, especially business wide, normally it's normally me, right? Normally. A lot of times with just decisions I made personally too, normally it's me, right? But even with that, just don't when you I know what it is. I don't even know why. If you have your health
Yes.
and the people you care about have
Mm-hmm.
their health, everything else is a bonus, Desiree.
That is awesome. I love that.
Now,